This is the video, the YouTube thing.
And hello.
Skip.
Vince was talking to me as I was coming on the air. I apologize. I look kind of rough today. Wow. I didn't think I looked that rough until I went live. So thanks for loving me, you guys. So hello, everybody. It looks like we've got a pretty good lag today. So I apologize for that.
Not that bad.
It's not that bad? Oh, why is mine... Oh, there we go. My computer was not cooperating with me. So, anyway, thank you. I got my new glasses finally, and I'm trying to get used to them. So, I'm not wearing my contacts or anything, and they're not too bad. I was just going to get a pair of ugly glasses just to, like, wear around the house because ugly glasses are cheaper. And then I saw these ones, and I was like, those are really cute. So, I had to get the cute ones, which, you know, if they're cute, they're not cheap. So, okay. So, hello, everybody. I'm so glad that you're all here with me on this lovely Saturday. Vince and I are leaving on our trip on Wednesday. So, just a couple of days. And we're running around like crazy trying to get work done and, you know, trying to get ready and everything. So I am a little bit like frazzled. But yeah, it's good. We're good. Wednesday. So we're not actually going to have a jam session this week. You know, tomorrow being Mother's Day in the US, I figure that, you know, the vast majority of you are probably not going to be into hanging out with me. I'm not even into hanging out with me tomorrow. In fact, I hung out with my mom today. So today is Mother's Day for my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And tomorrow I will be working all stinking day long. So that's my weekend. But today I get to hang out with you guys and do some watercolor. So I'm all set up here for watercolor, and I've got my camera, obviously. Ta-da! I have 2 water jars here. This is a little painting that I did earlier in the week that I'll show you guys. And then I have all my brushes, all of my paints. And I just have smaller paper because I think I told you guys that's like what I prefer to work on is smaller paper. So I've got a bunch of those. But just in case, because I get a lot of questions about the paper I use. This is the paper that I actually used. I just bought this book. See, and I just ripped out the little pages, and then I cut them roughly in half. I don't measure it or anything. I just generally cut it. As you can tell, some of them are strips, not halves. People ask me about like brands of paper. I would say use whatever you can afford, whatever you're comfortable with. I would recommend against the Strathmore paper. Strathmore, I've never had good experiences with the Strathmore. So the Canson is pretty inexpensive. It's pretty affordable. It's almost always on sale at Michael's and everywhere else that sells paper. But this is pretty decent watercolor paper for practicing. And then as you get more comfortable with it, you know, and you decide you want to start doing some nice work that you might want to sell or show in a gallery, then you can move up into the more expensive papers. But I am perfectly fine with this one for now, so I don't have any complaints about it. So we have, Michelle got that one yesterday. Nice. I've got like 5 of them, I swear. I keep finding them. I was, you know, putting stuff together in our little camper yesterday, and I opened the little storage bin, and I was like, oh, look, a brand new humongous pad of paper that I haven't even touched yet. So that's exciting. Your paper curled up, Cindy? Is it the same kind, the Canson paper? I will show you how I keep my paper from curling up, but ultimately if you're not going to be working all wet into wet, your paper is going to curl a bit. I don't personally mind that so much. If it bothers you, you can stretch it and tape it down. I don't know a lot about stretching because I don't do it. And I don't like to tape my paper down, but I'm sure there's YouTube videos that will show you how to stretch it. But, so here's one that I did, excuse me, hiccups. Here's one that I did this week, and I have Vince diligently working on a story for this painting, right?
Yes.
Yes, he says yes.
To tell him for the.
Yeah, for the website, for the shadows on the page. So this is a little one that I did earlier this week. I'll zoom you in there a little bit. Ooh, spooky. But I was really happy with this one. I like this one a lot. And I really like the texture, how it really seems like a stone wall. And one of the ways I did that was by using, different values of black, like some granulating black, some not granulating black, some Payne's gray, but then also these little flicky bits here, these little, craters. That was all from rubbing alcohol. So, yeah, rubbing alcohol is really fun. Can we do something like that? Sure, we can do something like this if you like. Yeah. But I'll show you how to do something like that without your paper curling up. We can also do, especially since these are so small, we can do a few different ones. I wanted to show you, the wet into wet technique, so like we did in the watercolor video from a couple weeks ago, but then also some wet onto dry techniques that I like to do. And if you do wet onto dry, your paper may curl a little. Like I said, it doesn't bother me. I don't really care if my paper curls. It just creates some interesting backgrounds and, little bits that you also can't control. So that's fun. Let's go ahead and do one. So I have my paper here. Make sure I've got the right side up. Oh, that is really bright, isn't it? Is that a little better? I think that's a little better. Okay. So let's start with a wet into dry, or wet into wet. So Cindy, here's how to keep it from curling. So this is the back of my paper, and I have my water bottle. I'm just going to spray it a little bit, not a ton. That's it. Then I'm going to flip it over. I like to use my fan brush to wet down the paper because this fan brush holds 1,000,000 tons of water. And when you do that, see, look, it kind of sucks it right to the table. And now it's not curled at all. I mean, as the paper starts to dry, if I keep wetting it, it will start to curl a little bit. But yeah, so boom, not curled at all. Even if I pick it up off of the table and place it back down, it is flat. So that's how I like to get started for a wet on wet technique. If you don't want it quite so wet on the surface, after you do that, just take a paper towel and just kind of blot it. Just pick up a little bit of that water. Always make sure that you are able to see the reflection for yourself, because that will tell you how wet your paper is. So, you guys can't really tell, but if I move a little bit, I can see the sheen on my paper, so I know how wet it is. And that's really important when you're working in watercolor. So now, tell me what you guys want to do. You guys are directing me, remember? I have all of my paints here. I have my metallic paints. Da 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 da. Which we'd probably want to use those like at the end. I have my Daniel Smiths, la la, and my messy palettes. And I have my Winsor & Newtons. There we go. Winsor & Newton. And I have all of my Hydrus paints too. So, you guys start telling me what it is that you would like to see today, and we'll get started doing that. Might not have used enough water. Yeah, I think especially coming from an acrylic background, a lot of us are a little afraid to use water. We get beaten to our heads so much. Don't use too much water. Don't underbind your paint. You can't underbind watercolor paint. You can't use too much water. I know you kind of think, oh, I'm going to dissolve the paper. You're not going to dissolve the paper. I promise. So, I mean, I just put a ton of water on that. There's a puddle on there now. You can soak your paper in the bathtub. There are people who do that. I think one of Eileen's friends soaks her paper in the bathtub for like a day or something before she uses it. So don't be afraid of water when you're working with watercolor at all. So is that what you guys want to do? Is something along these lines? Remember, tell me what you want. This is all for you. Let's do some different colors though. Well, if you guys aren't going to direct me, I'm going to direct myself. All right, I'm going to zoom you out just a little bit so that you can also see my palette. That's another way that watercolor, especially for me, varies from acrylic is I am not afraid of mess. I'm not afraid to just mix my colors into crazy chaoticness. Do something that requires amethyst. That is a gorgeous one. You guys won't be able to see the sparkle. The Daniel Smith amethyst, it actually has ground up amethyst in it. And when it dries on the paper, it's a little bit glittery. It's really, really cool. Yeah, we can do that. It does kind of sit, Gretchen. You're right. And remember, guys, that all of your colors are going to do something a little bit different because of the minerals that makes up the color. Some of them are heavier than others. Some of them are more like dyes. So like I have this color here, Opera Pink. I think that's Opera. Yeah. Opera Pink. It's a dye. So it spreads really good. It stains really good. It doesn't lift very well. But amethyst, on the other hand, is made from ground up gemstones. So it's heavier. The particles are heavier, so it doesn't spread as far. It is a lot more transparent. It lifts really well. It's a much more subtle color. So, and you learn about those kind of things from making color charts. So make yourself some color charts. Undersea green is so gorgeous. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I think I know what I want to do then. I'm going to put away my Winsor Newtons. And we'll go here. Which one is Undersea? Serpentine, Undersea. Okay, Undersea is this dark one here. And Amethyst is this one here. And because I am gross and I love to mix colors that you wouldn't think to mix, I'm going to do it. I have a friend who yells at me every time I mix colors like that. If I mix green and purple, she's like, gross, dude, don't do that. She really hates it when I mix yellow and purple, so I make sure to mix yellow and purple at every opportunity. All right, this is Undersea green. I'm going to get a ton of that. Plop it down right there. Look at that color. So gorgeous. Let's get some amethyst. Lots and lots. The amethyst, remember, it's a much more subtle color. And mix it in there. Let's just start. I like to just kind of feel what's happening and let the colors kind of spread. And then go from there, see what happens. Just kind of scribbling it on. Let's get a little more water in there. Zoisite green. Oh, that's a heck of a handle.
Really cool.
Oh, are you watching, Vince?
Yeah.
Oh, Vince is watching too.
Oh my God.
Splattery bits. Yay! And look at how they move. I just love how watercolor, you know, it just like moves on its own. Everything is kind of scattered that way, and it, you know, creates some real dynamic movement, I guess, to a piece of paper. I love that. I'm trying to scoot over just a little. There we go. Okay. They are the Daniel Smith paints. There's nothing like them. There's absolutely nothing like them. I'm going to get a little bit more of that amethyst and mix it in there. And I'm just going to find out what happens. Another cool thing, especially about the Daniel Smith colors, because they have such high quality, you know, elements and pigments that make them, is the way that they separate. I don't know if you can tell. You probably can't see real well. I think you can tell right here is a slightly different color than like right here. And that's the way that the colors settle. You know, the purple from the amethyst kind of drops right where it's set, while some of the colors in the green are a little more lightweight and they kind of move off a bit. My paper's starting to dry a little bit in that corner. See how I've got shapes that are just a little bit more defined. So if you're getting defined shapes like that, your paper is drier, which isn't a bad thing. It just is what it is. If your paint really flows around and moves, then it's quite a bit wetter. They do tours there. I know. And they're in Seattle, right, Eileen? Might have to make a trip to Seattle, Vince.
Who does tours?
Go to the Daniel Smith factory. I put a little more undersea green in there. Now I'm starting to kind of feel like I see like some trees over in this area, or bushes. It feels like very wild bushes. And a little bit more distant ones going on in here. And let's get the palette knife out. Who has tried the palette knife techniques with their watercolor? Has anybody, or are you guys scared to try it? Palette knife with watercolor is magical. Just don't push too hard. Just enough to move it. And the tip of the knife. So remember, here's how you determine how much pressure to put on your paper, okay? Because I know that right off the bat, some of you are probably gouging your paper and you're doing it way too hard. So I want you to take this part of your arm. It's nice and sensitive. Take your palette knife, and you know, when I'm scratching in the tree trunks here, I want you to practice here and see what that feels like. It should feel nice. It should not hurt or be scratchy or anything. If it hurts, you're putting too much pressure. Get to where it just kind of feels nice, almost like a tickle. And then that's the pressure you should be using on your paper. Likewise, the scraping here, you don't want to dig at your paper. So on that same part of your arm, come with the edge of the knife. I know that looks scary, guys. And just scrape it. Again, it should just feel nice. Almost like if you're shaving your arm, you know, that's about how you want it to feel. You don't want to like go gouging in there and hurt yourself. Just to the point where it feels nice, that's the exact same pressure you should be using here, okay? That should help you get the idea of how much pressure to use. If you use too much, you're going to just start digging into that paper. It's going to curl up. It's going to be ugly when it dries. It's not going to be fun. You're going to get little bits of paper floating all over the place. See, I'm just almost randomly scratching in there. put some in here too. And I know that you can't see that real well, but as it dries, you'll see it a lot better. And if you decide that you don't want so much of that mess in the sky there, a little damp spot on your paper towel and just a light blot and barely touching. Just barely touching. Never rub at the paper. Okay, you're also going to break up the surface of the paper and you're going to ruin the paper if you scrub at it like that with your paper towel. Just touch. That's all it is. It's just a very light touch. I know. I'm pretty pale. Oh yeah, the calligraphy pen tips could be fun. Yeah. Just make sure, again, not to put too heavy of pressure. Good, Janice. Oh, my phone. Sorry, it's buzzing over here. I hope that it helps get you out of that funk, Janice. I know what that's like, and it's not fun. But I love to take two colors and mix them in various amounts, you know, to get some depth on my canvas. So again, just some amethyst. I just mixed in a little bit of that green. And let's drop in a bit here. Payne's Gray still tends to be my go-to for darkening things, so I'll probably throw some Payne's Gray in here too. There's a technique I just used here a second ago that I really want to show you, but it's easier to show you the benefits of it and what it actually does on dry paper. So I will show you that in just a moment. The color on my camera there is not very good. It doesn't look very saturated. These colors are a lot deeper than they look on there. Little green, that's kind of getting dry. Let's get some water and just kind of splatter it. See, you guys, don't be afraid of water here. Flick. Oh, there we go. That's fun. Okay. So this is just a simple, super quick landscape. Wet on wet. I like to do these in like 5 minutes. Just kind of bust something out. Ooh, I have an idea I want to do in here. But first, let's darken this. I've got my, you can't see it, but I have my Winsor & Newton's, my Payne's Gray here. I love this Payne's Gray. I need to try the Daniel Smith Payne's Gray, but I already have like a huge thing of the Winsor & Newton one. Like I bought a giant tube of it. So I need to finish it first. Can't justify having 85 tubes of Payne's Gray. Just see what happens there if I just let that kind of spread on its own. I think they're here to mow the lawn, so it's probably going to be noisy for a minute.
Oh.
Is that them, Vince?
No. Could be the neighbors not getting enough.
It could be our neighbor. Our neighbor mows his lawn like twice a week. No exaggeration. Some of you probably mow your lawn twice a week and you're all, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's hot.
Okay, I know one last thing I want to do, and then I might call this one about done. I might come mess with it a little bit more after it dries. Sometimes I like to put in little details, like a fence. So I'm going to take a palette knife again, and I'm just going to scratch in a little bit of a fence. And like I said, you can't really see that as it dries. You will be able to see it a lot better. And maybe some grasses at the bottom there, some wild grasses. quick, fun, no stress. If this turned out being horribly ugly when I was done, I could go, oh well, crumple it in a ball, throw it away. Wouldn't even matter. I think that's about done. Okay, so that's a good example of, just how to do like a super quick, super easy landscape. I'm just dotting on this. This paper is soaked. This paper is soaking wet front and back. Please don't be afraid of water in watercolor. Still continue to be afraid of water in acrylic. Okay. Yay, Janice! Yay! We're gonna break that painting dry spell of yours. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. Actually, I'm gonna just kind of blot that a little right there. It was seeming just a bit muddy. And I'm gonna put this aside, and hopefully you'll be able to see it better once it dries. It just looks really washed out in that shot on the camera, but I can't hold it up to show you because it's super, super wet. Look at how wet the table is there, guys. And I'll set you right there to dry. Okay. Next, should we do a wet on dry? I'm just gonna set this right there. And I'm gonna show you a couple of techniques that I really like to do with wet on dry. And I think I'm actually gonna use my Hydras? No. So Sue on Instagram had this amazing picture that she gave me permission to paint, and I really want to do it. So this one is kind of inspired. This will be kind of inspired by that. Hello, Jennifer! And if I missed anybody else, I apologize. Please understand that I love you and I would say hello to you if I saw you come in. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to start painting, and unless you guys have some direction you want me to go, whoa, hello, wake up there, camera, then shout it out, but otherwise I'm just going to start going. So this is dry, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a very wet brush, and I'm going to make some really dreamy flowers, okay? Now, one thing I see a lot of on watercolor from newbies is, let's use one of these sample ones I used last week, is they tend to use watercolor a lot like acrylic, right? Because acrylic, you have to tell acrylic exactly what to do, and it goes, okay, that's what I'll do, and that's what it does. But watercolor, you can tell watercolor what to do, and it's still going to go, but maybe I'll do this instead. And you have to be willing to go, okay. So what I do is I just give it full permission in the first place to go crazy and do what it wants to do. But here's what I see a lot of with people coming from acrylic new to watercolor. I'm going to get some of this pink. This is the Opera Pink in Daniel Smith. It's essentially hot pink. They want a flower. They'll come in here and they'll go flower, and then, we end up with, it might be really cute, but it's still really stiff looking, and it's all really solid colored. And I find that with watercolor, the stiffer something is, the stiffer it looks. So I'm going to get a ton of water. By a ton of water, I mean I dunk in and I lift right out, and I try not to lose that drip on the end of my brush. I'm going to mix it right into my paint. Pick up a ton of it. More water. So here's how we're going to get dreamy looking flowers on dry paper. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm holding my brush way far back. You guys know how I do. Stop. What are you talking about, Gretchen? All right, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go That's going to be a flower or a couple. I dipped right back into my water, tried not to lose that drip. Flat brush, and I'm just going to like break up that end. I'm going to clean it off. This is just water. Just let it kind of trail. I love that kind of, the way it breaks up the lines in some places, but see, I haven't broken up all of the lines. And then it lets the paint kind of backflow. Maybe I'll grab another color. I'm going to grab this. I really want these to be bright, bright, bright right now. Oh, when I did each flower petal coming from acrylic. Yep. Because I've been there, I know. I've done the same thing. This is quinacridone purple. This color is incredible. If you're looking for your next purple color, this is it. Quinacridone purple. I'm just going to kind of touch some right in there. Clean brush, just water. Create a background. Do you see how I did that? I just laid my wet brush flat right on that edge and just kind of break it up. Let it flow around. Just dot a little bit more of that purple in there. Let's get some yellow. This is Azo yellow right here. Complete with Mr. Moon hair. And I'm not going to try and keep it separate out of that yellow. Whoosh. Or out of the other colors. I'm even going to break that up a little. Let's just blot a little bit, particularly right there. Don't be afraid of backgrounds. Look at how those colors just run into each other. It's exactly what I want. Let's get some more of that undersea green. Maybe I'll plop it in here and mix a little bit of this. I think it's one next to it, I think is, if you want to, permanent green. So we'll throw a bit of this in there too. Keep some brightness going. And let's just kind of create the idea of some leaves. That's it. It's just the idea. Like, I'm not trying to draw a leaf. I'm just going flat, just kind of scribble. Boom, there's a leaf. Okay. Clean wet brush. Break that up, break it up. Encourage some of them to flow into each other. Just looks very dreamy.
Oh, that got colorful.
What?
I think that got colorful.
Oh.
I looked away for a few minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna let that dry now. Because I know what I want to do next, but I need that to be dry. Yeah, Mr. Moon has decided it's time to come say hi. Yeah, Jennifer, I noticed that as far as I can tell, the Winsor & Newton Cotman, there isn't quinacridone. I thought that was really crazy too. Let me see if I've even got something in here that's close. I don't think I do. No. No. There's really nothing very close. And I thought that was strange. I was like, how does a company get away without having a magenta? How do you not have quinacridone? Okay, we're going to let that dry for a minute. Now it's up to you guys. Tell me what I'm painting. And we'll come back to this one in just a couple of minutes. I just need it to dry a bit. I don't need it to be dry all the way. Okay, guys, your turn. Oh. do want to do one more thing in here. So get some ideas out to me while I do this. I'm just going to scratch in some. I even picked up just a little bit of that purple on the tip of the palette knife and kind of scratch it in there. Just like some little flowery detail bits. Look at how those colors all ran together. It really creates some interest. Don't fear the backflow. Just let it happen. There. Yeah. That's what that needed. A C. Anybody else? You guys are so quiet today. Usually you tell me everything to do. Today you're very, very quiet. A birdhouse. Of course you could do a birdhouse with watercolor. Remember I did a house with watercolor recently. You guys saw that one, didn't you? Ooh, do you guys want to know how to paint figures in watercolor? So easy. Here's one that I did for the blog that Vince and I are doing. A darkling painting. Did you guys read the new blog on Shadows on the Page? We called them darklings after you guys. But figures like that are super easy, guys. And do you know what brush you use to make that? A long liner. And about 2 seconds. Okay, let's see. Let me show you. Let's do a really simple figure. We'll do some figures on this one. How about that? I'll find my liner. I didn't get my brushes ready before I got here. I'm sorry. Okay, long liner. Vince, Eileen wants to know how you don't scare yourself.
With my stories?
I guess so.
Because I know they're not true.
Because he knows they're not true, he said. Let's just use black. Because it's easy. And my Winsor & Newtons. Long liner. Right into the black paint. Get it loaded up pretty good. This paper is dry. You could do it with another brush too. I typically like to do figures with the long liner. But I want you to practice it and see what you like the best, okay? So here is my long liner with lots of black paint on it. And I'm holding it loosely. I'm not going to try and draw a figure, okay? Oh, Jennifer felt sorry for the ghost in Night Visit. I know, poor little thing, huh? We might have a follow-up story to that one coming soon. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the top quarter of my long liner. Press it down, kind of wiggle side to side. Press it all the way flat and keep wiggling side to side. And that's really it. You can break up, I like to break up the shape. Same thing as I did on the flower, flat and just kind of, and that can be like a shadow or something. Let's do another figure. Every time you do a figure, they're going to look like people with different types of personalities, so. Wet and scatter out a shadow. So simple. And from there, if you really want, you can come back and put in some little details. Let's make a smaller guy. I like to scatter the shadows. But see how simple? I didn't draw a head, I didn't draw shoulders, I didn't draw anything. But in context, it will look like a person. And then another thing you can do is clean off your brush, dry it on a paper towel a bit, come back. I'm laying it flat so I can pick up some of that paint. Remove some of it. You know, reshape the people a little bit if you want. And by removing some of the paint, it kind of helps make it look like there's shadows and highlights in the figure. So there's some simple figures. You can do it with a larger brush, and I might have with this one. I can't remember what size of brush I used for that one, but really I think I just used a thinner paint, which is why we have some highlight and shadow on there a little bit more. But really, in fact, I think I did, okay, I think this is how I did that one, because his color, his base color is quite thin. I'm going to get some black and a little extra water. So this color is going to be much thinner. It's not going to be solid black. And then I can come in here and a little shadow if you like, or I just like to kind of scatter out the feet. Now I've got that shape in there. Now I can come back with some harder color and maybe just put a little, see, I'm just like touching, just like a little dot of color there, and let it spread. And it can start to kind of build shadows. I'm not changing the shape of the person or trying to say, oh no, that's not what they're looking like. You need to make sure that they have definite legs. I'm just saying maybe there's a shadow right here or right here. Just take some water, kind of drip it in there, encourage the paint to move around a little. Dry my brush on my paper towel, roll some of that paint off. It's a fairly dry brush. See, I'm wiping it on my paper towel, just picking up some of that. And look, guys. Now I have a little guy. Kind of looks like he's wearing like a fuzzy hat, like a coat, like a long coat. And to me, it kind of looks like, here's his face, he's looking off this way, but I didn't do any of that. Yeah, it looks like he has his hands in his pockets. It does kind of look like he's hunched, like he's walking through some weather, you know, and all of those things. Every time you do one, you're going to get a different style of character. This guy kind of looks like a guy that you might see walking through a dark alley in a film noir movie. This one kind of looks like a cartoon character. This guy looks like his jacket or something is blowing in the wind. To me, this one looks like a bride. It kind of looks like a woman in like a bride's dress, but maybe like a bride in a horror movie. But see, super simple. But let me show you, if you try and get in there and try and be real specific and be like, okay, here's a head. Here's a head. Maybe there's a nose right there. Oh, now, whoa, he kind of looks like a bird now. Oh, well. Okay, now he has to have a chin. Okay, now he looks like a weird Pac-Man. And we'll give him a neck. And then his shoulders go this way. And then his back, and he's got some hands maybe right here. I mean, look how stiff he looks. He does look like a Birdman. But if you're doing like a quick study, which I really hope while we're on our trip, I really hope to be doing a lot of studies, and I have the ability to record them, you know, like super quick studies that I'm doing like in public on the fly. And I really want to record those for you guys. But let's say that you're like painting a farmer's market scene and there's like 100 people in front of you, and you don't want to take, you know, a million hours rendering every detail. You just sit and you look at the people and you're like, okay, there's a guy standing right there. There's a guy. And there's another guy who's standing right here. And let's see, there's another guy over here. He has rabbit ears apparently. That guy is a rabbit. That's okay. Rabbits are people too. You know, and now you've got this whole, maybe this guy has like a little kid with him, and now look, now there's a little kid with that guy. So now you know how you can do something super fast and easy like that if you're like out in public and you're just trying to mark stuff down really fast. With watercolor, I feel like you can just knock stuff out super quick. And this guy, if you don't have to do it just in black. I did it just in black, for example, but let's say that maybe he's wearing a blue coat. So I just picked up a little blue. I'm just going to knock it in there a bit. Doesn't even have to fill the whole thing. Just a hint of blue will really help say he's wearing a blue coat. A little bit of blue. Maybe he's got a brown hat on. Just get a little bit of brown. Knock it in there. And maybe he has different blue pants on. It's blue, but it's not the same blue. You know, or whatever. But now our guy has just a little bit more detail. And you can even do that. Let's say going back to our farmer's market scenario. Let's go with some red. We'll go, here's this guy with his t-shirt. He's got some blue jeans on. Oh, maybe a blue maxi skirt. That guy got away from me. Don't look at that guy. He's ugly. And now he's gone. See, I don't want you guys to be afraid of watercolor. Look at that. That guy was ugly. He does not exist anymore. So now I can go do it somewhere else. Let's do our guy with the blue shirt, or the red shirt again. So there's his shirt. His blue pants. His brownish gray head. You know, for skin and hair all in one. We're just gonna throw some brown in there. Let's throw a little bit of some gray or something in for some kind of a shadow somewhere. He's got some shadow going on over here. Clean, dry brush, and we'll just kind of blot off some of those colors. So that wasn't quite as good of an example, but you kind of get the hint, right? Michelle. Was there an episode of Night Gallery like that? Look at all those people. So fast, you guys. So fast. For me, I think it's so easy to just get the idea that you want down with watercolor. You know, you don't have to worry about direction. So, like, let's say direction. I guess what I mean is, you know how with acrylic, you're like, if you want to build some direction in a painting, then you show all of your brush strokes, right? So in acrylic, you might say green, 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 green to give an idea of direction, right? Well, with watercolor, you don't really have to do that. You can just go whoosh, you know, and maybe scrape a few lines in there to really amp up the direction. But it's okay to be very fluid. And I think if I were painting like some grass, that I would prefer this to represent the grassy area rather than this. You know, to me that looks much stiffer and just not as pleasing as, you know, that. I did that flat brush on dry paper there, and see how I get a little texture? I can let that dry. I can come back with another color and do the same type of thing and kind of build texture just through color, working on dry paper versus wet paper or a combination of the two. Let's see what's going on with this flower. So this flower is a good example because it's a combination of wet and dry edges. So see how I've got these backgrounds and the paint disappears. It just kind of like mists out. But then I have lots of areas here where the color's good and hard. It's a nice solid color. Nice crisp edge. And I think that makes watercolor really interesting. You know, rather than just having everything hard edges. You can't have all hard edges and all soft edges and maintain an interesting look, I don't think, in watercolor. Maybe you can, and I'm just not good at that. But I like a combination of hard and soft edges. Okay. And I know how I want to finish this painting. It's Janice, it depends on which one you were looking at when you asked that. I was using my number 10 and my long liner. So this is my number 10. See? And then my long liner. So I now have Payne's Gray, my Dr. P.H. Martin's, the Hydrus Payne's Gray. I'm just going to I'm just touching, I'm not squirting. One drop of this paint could cover this entire canvas. I'm just touching the dropper there. And then I'm going to take a wet brush. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to kind of scatter it. Wash it off. Just a wet brush and get some backgrounds with that color. I'm not afraid of it overlapping my other colors. See that? And we're gonna get some drama in this painting. See how I'm just dipping into this and I can carry it so far. These Hydrus paints, they're so super concentrated. I don't like how stiff all of those look. So a wet dry or a wet clean brush, flat pressure there. I'm just going to break up that edge. Let it backflow into the green. Same there, I think. I might actually do that right here too. Touch, touch, touch. And swipe. Remember, I'm not squeezing this dropper at all. I would obliterate this entire painting if I squoze that dropper. There. I don't know, Jennifer. I think you could certainly try it. If anybody's watching and you can't see the chat, she asked if soft body acrylic with water would act like gouache. The one difference for sure would be that you wouldn't be able to re-wet it. Gouache is re-wettable, where acrylic obviously isn't. Still just wanting to break up just a few of those. I like this hard line right there. It kind of shows the edge of a petal. But also, I'm going to get a bit of a darker color in there. So I'm just leaching some of the color from over in other places. You could certainly try it. There's no harm in trying that with acrylic because you're doing it on watercolor paper. So it's not, you're underbinding the paint, but the paper is more absorbent. So it should be fine. Yeah, give it a try and see. You know, and if ever you're hankering to do some watercolor experimenting, just kind of playing like I am. That's all I'm doing is playing, you guys. I really couldn't even care less if any of these turn out like junk. And if you ever just want to do that, but you don't have watercolor, man, just sit down with some paper and wet down your acrylic paint. Just the experience is more important than the outcome. And I only have white gouache. That's the only gouache that I even use, because I like to use it to bring some white back, to block things out. You know. Oh no, Michelle. Struggled with the night tree. Oh, from the watercolor video, Jennifer? You don't have anything dark enough? Yeah, use acrylic. You know, having fun and trying it out is, like I said, it's the most important thing. I like my little flower. It kind of looks like a hibiscus to me, but I don't really know plants, so that could be not at all what this looks like. It's just a name that popped into my head. I'm going to set it over there to dry. But, I mean, that's a little brighter than what I typically do, but I like it. So, what else do you guys want to see? Where did that first one go that we did? Oh, back here. Let's see how that's doing. It's still pretty wet. The purple is starting to glitter. I don't think you guys will be able to see it. So in this area right here, you can still see the shine from the water. It's still kind of wet. You can't really see the sparkles in there, but it's seriously glittery. So see how the edge of the color and, you know, the scratchy lines and everything, that alone says that it's a tree. And I didn't have to work for that. I didn't have to, you know, make a tree. Let's see, how wet is this? It's getting dry. Let's add some little sticky trees, little sticky branches. My long liner. I'm going to get some Payne's Gray. Kind of get some Payne's Gray in here, make sure that's nice and dark. Just kind of scrubbing it on there. Clean off my brush. This is a clean brush, it's just wet. And I'm going to start in this dark color and just kind of pull it up. And because the paper is starting to get kind of dry, it will hold shape a bit more. You know, before it just spread everywhere because it was wet. But now that it's drying, it's going to keep shapes just a little bit more. See, just making some little twiggy branches. And that's really how I did trees in all of these. That's how I did the trees in this one. That's how I did the trees. Let's see. In this one, just lay down some heavy paint at the bottom and drag a clean, damp brush up through it. Right? Green and purple are incredible together. Anybody who doesn't like green and purple mixed together, man, they're missing out. All right, I'm going to grab some more. Let's do a little bit over here. Just lay down some of that Payne's Gray because that creates some depth in those bushes there, right? Clean off my brush. Just shake off an extra drip. It's clean. It's damp. Start right in there and just drag some up. And because these trees don't have a whole lot of color to them, it still helps them seem distant. And if I need them to come a little bit closer to the foreground, I picked up a little bit of paint. Now they'll be a little darker. And I think it's super interesting when you have, trees or elements that part of them are kind of fuzzed out and part of them are in focus. So I'll show you what I mean. Some flicky bits there. Clean brush, get an extra drip of water. And I'm just flicking water on here. So some of those branches that I just did are going to start... Oh, bye, Michelle! Get some work done. Some of those branches are going to start to kind of spread a little bit. I'm going to do one more layer of green and purple, and I think this one's done. I really like it. I really like the way this one turned out, and it was super quick and easy. Some of my green. Not worried about cleaning off my palette like I told you guys. I almost never clean off my palette. Some of my amethyst color. A little more. Just getting a nice dark mixture of that. And this paper is dry down here, and you see how I'm just going side to side with that. Little water. My brush is flat. I'm just dragging it side to side, so it kind of skips on the dry paper. Sometimes it lays down the color, sometimes it doesn't. Drag it over into there a bit. See, it creates a little bit of texture on that road. Let's get a little mind blown. You guys are either super kind or easily impressed. I think you're super kind. I'm just picking up some Payne's Gray and just dumping it in there a little. Maybe we'll give a couple. Whoa, that was a heavier amount of Payne's Gray than I expected. Oh man, you can't even see that. And that stupid glare. Sorry guys. I'll get you photos of what we did. And just like I did with the trees here, how I took a clean damp brush and made trees. This is a clean damp brush. I'm just dipping into this heavy color and I'm just flicking it out to create some texture of grasses. It's the exact same thing as the trees. And I feel like I'm done with that one. Yay! I sure did get it from you, Mom. Thank you, you guys. You're so sweet. Yes, Janice. This whole painting here was undersea green and amethyst with a little Payne's Gray. I just used some Payne's Gray for the darkest areas, which that's kind of my go-to color. If I need to make something dark, it's Payne's Gray. Did I talk down? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I don't know. Gretchen, that's all it ever is practice. Just because I'm proud of this one and I like it doesn't mean that everything I touch is awesome. Man, I throw away watercolor paper. I have junk. You know? But I think with watercolor, for me anyway, more so than acrylic, the important thing is to act confident. You don't have to be confident. You have to act confident. So, for example, you know those wild brush strokes that I did on this one, right? Where I took the paint and I just went like, there, that looks great. There, that looks great. That's what I mean. That's acting confident. Do I have any idea what kind of flower I was going for? No. Do I know anything about flowers? No. So, you know, I'm not like competently confident. I'm just confident. But that's not a confident flower. And for me, the difference, and maybe not for you, maybe you do like this one better than this one, and that's okay because everybody has preference. But if I look at either of these, I feel like this is the much more confident painting. This is the much more timid painting. So what I want you guys to do, this is your homework, okay? Your homework is I want you to paint something confidently. I do not care if you like it or hate it. You should not care if you like it or hate it. None of that matters, okay? I just want you to, just like I did with this one, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just had a color on my brush and I put it on the canvas, on the paper to see what that color did. And I just kind of went with it as it happened. I'm like, oh, that looks like a bush. Let's make it a bush then. But if you act with confidence, I think you'll be much more happy with what happens. Don't tighten up and try and force something to happen. Ooh, in fact, you know what? I know how I want to finish this one. It's not quite done. I wonder if I can hold it up and show you now so you can see it. You can't see it there. The colors look really horrible and washed out. Let's see. You might be able to see it if I hold it up here. Ta-da! I really like this one a lot. And I want to put a figure in it. Let's put a figure in it to finish it. Since we talked about figures. And just to show you that I'm not afraid. I really like this painting and I could totally destroy it putting a figure into it right now. But I don't care because I did it once. I can do it again. It's just paint. Alright. Long liner. I'm going to use Payne's Gray because I want a little bit of a softer look. A little extra water. I want him to be pretty transparent to start. Okay, that's a very, very transparent mixture. And let's put him like right here. So there's the top of his head. Let's get a little bit more. So far he's kind of strange looking. That's okay. Dry brush. I'm going to pull that shoulder in a little. He was looking very 80s with his shoulder pads. So I just cut off one of those shoulder pads. Just removing little hints of that color. Right here along the front. Remember to wipe off your brush in between each use. A little extra dark down the back here. Maybe he'll just kind of be a poorly suggested figure. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. But I can get rid of him at any moment if I decide not to. In fact, I might because I think he's kind of dumb looking. So, bye-bye, gentlemen. Now it's like he was never even there. Well, my painting didn't need a figure after all. A little damp spot on my paper towel. And just lightly blot out some of that darker color because I want to keep it kind of bright right there. No more figure. See? you can change your mind with watercolor. I know everybody thinks watercolor is so scary and that you can't fix mistakes, but man, you can. Just laying in a little more Payne's Gray there to bring back some of that darkness. My fence kind of got lost, so I'm just putting that back in. It might fade out, you know, with wet paper, but it might not. Yeah, that's what it needed, not a guy. It needed a fence. Perfect. Bye, Cindy. I can't wait to go see your watercolor. I'm going to go check as soon as we're done here. I'm done with that one. I really like that one. Hopefully Vince likes it too, and we'll write a story for our little website with it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
And, okay, guys. Confidence. I want you to do something confidently. And then I want you to post it on the Patreon page. Don't be afraid to post. Don't be afraid to post something that you think is absolute garbage. The important thing, like I said, is that you enjoyed the action, that you enjoyed the activity, that you kind of loosened up and let yourself do something that you wouldn't normally do. Practice some figures too. Look at our little bunny guy. I kind of like him. He totally... Look at that. He's got whiskers and everything. He's a bunny. Maybe he's a jackalope. Let's make him a jackalope. I'm going to do that. I love jackalopes. I have a tattoo of a jackalope. They're my jam. Let's give him some little... There. Now he's going to be a jackalope. Hello, Sylvie. I'm glad you could make it. All right. So we did, let's see. We did that one, which I love, with the purple and green. We did our little figures. We did our bright flower. It kind of got away from me a little bit, but I like it. And did you guys learn anything? I hope you learned something. And I hope you had a good time. And I hope that you feel a little more confident, whether it's in acrylic or watercolor. I hope that you feel a little more confident in, experimenting and just kind of seeing what will happen. Ask yourself a question: what will happen if I try this? And then find out what happens. Because you really can't mess up with watercolor, and even if you do mess up, crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. It's a piece of paper, And yeah, the Daniel Smith watercolors are expensive, but you know what? You use so little of them on a painting that if you crumple up a piece of paper and throw it in the garbage, you didn't even waste any paint. But remember, the most important thing is the only wasted paint legitimately is the paint that you don't use. So if you go and you invest in a bunch of watercolors but you're too afraid to use them, then you're wasting them. But if you sit down and you make 1 trillion paintings that you hate, you did not waste any of it. None of it was wasted, So I want you to just do it. It will make you happy to just do it. Especially if you don't, pressure yourself. Yeah, pretend to be confident. I don't know if I would say it's pretend to be confident so much as, just be confident. You're not going to fall off a cliff, So you can take that brush and just be like, whoosh, find out what happens. It's okay. you'll know what happened, and then you will have learned something. Janice got the amethyst and the undersea. Yay! I think you'll love them. Do you have any Daniel Smiths, Janice, or are those your first two? If anybody is looking to get into the Daniel Smith watercolors, I'll tell you the colors that I have that are must-haves for me. I absolutely have to have these colors. Let's see. I really, really love this one right here. It is quinacridone sienna. Anything quinacridone in Daniel Smith especially is incredible. So that quinacridone sienna is great. This blue, the indigo. The indigo is incredible. The amethyst, of course. The hematite. Lunar black. Lunar black is fabulous. For those of you who haven't seen, I'll show you real quick what lunar black does. I don't use it for everything. I did use it on here. So if you see like this area right here where it kind of looks grainy, that's the lunar black. This is not lunar black, but that is lunar black. So let me show you. So this piece of paper here, I'm going to get some lunar black. I'm going to lay it down there. Dot a little bit more into there. Oh, you know what else I'm going to do? Watch this. We'll get some opera. Just to give you another example of what lunar black does. Some lunar black. I'm going to mix it with that opera. Okay. Now, oh, I knew that long liner was going to go down. I knew I was going to drop it. Now I'm going to use my Winsor & Newton black. This is, I think it's carbon black. So it's just a very solid, very opaque black. And I'm going to put it down right there. And I'll even mix it with some opera just so you can see how it varies from the lunar black. Opera. Carbon. Come on. Cat hair in my nose. Thanks, Mr. Moon. All right. Let's see if you can see there. Ah, dumb cat. Okay, can you see how the lunar black is kind of fractured and granulated? See that? It's just the nature of that color. It does it when you mix it with other colors too. So it will almost give you like a cracked look. So it doesn't actually change the opera. The opera pink will stay bright pink, but as it dries, this lunar black will settle and fracture. And so you'll kind of have this cracky look with the pink in there. While the Winsor & Newton carbon black, it's like ink, man. That thing is like solid black. I mix the opera in there and it is gone. You can't even see it. So, you know, that's another reason I tell you, you have to make a bunch of color charts with your watercolor and figure out what they do and how they're different. Yeah, that lunar black and opera are really starting to separate now. I'm going to try and, let me see, if I zoom it out all the way, maybe I can. There. See how it's separating? And that opera pink is still hot, hot pink. It is not changed. It'll do that with yellow too. You know, if you mix yellow and black, you get green. Now with lunar black, you get the granule black with a yellow undertone to it. So it's pretty fabulous stuff. Yeah, the dot cards that everybody keeps talking about. I don't know where my dot cards are right now. But you can get these dot cards from Daniel Smith, and it's got a little blob of paint from every color that they sell. And it's on this sheet, and it has the name of it. And it's not just a color chart to look at. You can actually wet a brush and use some of that paint so that you can get an idea of what that color looks like and what it does. And from there, you know, you can go and buy whatever color it is that you really liked. But yeah, if you're interested in getting into Daniel Smith and you don't know what colors to get yourself the dot cards. I know when you're like $25 for a color chart, that seems a little crazy. But then when you realize that it's actual paint, every color they make, and you can use them, not just look at them, those dot cards are incredible. Oh, you got some of the dot cards as Mother's Day gifts. That's awesome. Oh, Mom, I didn't get you any dot cards for Mother's Day. Tell me you already have those, so I don't feel bad. Does anybody have any other questions or comments, emotional outbursts? Need any other info? You tell me what you want. And if you're done with me, then I'll go. See right here where I splattered the water? Remember I just took fresh water, went whoosh, and splattered on here? Look what it's kind of doing. So it hazed out, but to me it almost looks like, you know how when like morning light beams shine through like a fog? So that's kind of what that looks like to me. I like that. Sorry, Mom. Now I feel bad. I should get you some of those. All right. Anybody need anything while we're here? Nobody? You guys are so quiet today. No? Okay. Well, if you guys are done with me, then I guess I'll go. So it looks like we're not going to have a video this Tuesday. I was actually working on something a couple of days ago and it wasn't working out and I was getting really stressed out, so I kind of abandoned it. But yeah, I'll be doing some fun stuff while we are on our vacation, and I think my upload ability will be a little bit abbreviated, or a little bit, you know, less than what it is now, just because I'll be just working off of my phone. My phone's, you know, data. But whatever I can do, I will do, and I'll make sure that you guys are in the know beforehand and that you get some fun stuff that not everybody else gets. So keep your eyes peeled. So, all right, I'm going to go, and I will talk to you guys soon. I'll get you some photos of these posted in Patreon as soon as they're dry. So I hope that you all have a beautiful week, and hopefully I'll be talking to you all very, very soon. So, bye everybody. I'll miss you.